When it comes to the fight against social media companies, nobody is working harder than Sam Chapman. His son Sammy was sold fentanyl-laced drugs over Snapchat and tragically died from an overdose before his parents could intervene. Today, he's working to get a law passed that would require social media companies like Snap to open their systems to parental control apps like Bark, so parents can stay in the know when it comes to online dangers. Let's get into it. Sam, I'm so thankful that you're here and for all the work that you and your amazing wife, Dr. Laura Berman, are doing. Before we go over all the things we want to go over today, I want to cut right to the unfortunate reason why you're having to do this work. Can you tell us about Sammy and what happened?
Sure. So Sammy was a vibrant 16-year-old football player, determined to be the world's first trillionaire. He was mining Bitcoin in his closet, unbeknownst to us, and just a bright young child. And during lockdown, like so many, he was online for too long and exposed to too much social media. And a drug dealer reached out to him with a colorful drug menu with emojis and slang and offered him something for free because it was laced with fentanyl. And if the fentanyl doesn't kill the child, it addicts them. And fentanyl is 100 times as powerful as heroin and can addict someone for life. So he said yes to the offer. At the bottom of the menu, it said, "Mr. Dan 248, I deliver." And a lethal dose of fentanyl was delivered to our front yard after we were asleep in the form of a counterfeit pill. And we found him dead on the floor the next day. We tried to resuscitate him and failed. And the EMTs came and tried to bring him back, and they failed. And we asked the police, let's reach out to Snapchat and find out what's on this what's on this profile,
Understandably,
and who this person is, and let's bring them in. And they said that they wouldn't even call Snapchat or reach out because they don't help. Snap Inc., we found out later on because of a lawsuit we're part of, has been letting the drug dealers know when law enforcement would inquire about their platform. So they were basically collaborating with the drug dealers in what winds up being a poisoning and killing children every day on their platform. And so, we went public with it. My wife's an Oprah person, and she put a warning on her Instagram, and we wound up going on the nightly news with Kate Snow the next night and on all the local channels. And the police finally showed up at our house to do what they should have done to begin with, which is collect evidence and treat this not like an overdose, but like a poisoning, like the murder that it was. And the Santa Monica police say they learned on the case that, fentanyl so prevalent that they have to treat every so-called overdose situation as if it's a murder so that they don't miss things like collecting evidence and going after the dealer for a more serious crime, which is a drug-related death.
I realize you have to tell this story a lot. Thank you for your bravery. I hate that you have to relive it, but it's for a purpose. And there's so much I want to get into with you, and it's infuriating. I have been on emails you've copied me on directly to Evan Spiegel, the CEO of Snap, and a dad, and I am floored at their lack of accountability and the lack of ownership that they could take to prevent one more child from dying because of their platform. Will you speak to, if you can, I know there's a lawsuit, will you speak to some of the things that most people would be shocked to know?
Well, there is such a thing as third-party safety software like Bark, And this software, according to the FBI, has stopped 17 school shootings and protects children online, allowing parents to parent again online, giving us a warning every time something dangerous or illegal happens on our children's devices. So I asked Evan Spiegel, after our son died, to integrate Snapchat with third-party safety software, and he declined in the name of what he calls data privacy. The story behind that is they scrape our children's data and they use it to sell to advertisers for targeted advertising.
Yep.
They also use it to addict our children to the platform and give them feeds that have adult content that is not really suitable for children. And in the name of just getting as much engagement as possible.
Right.
This whole thing is a racket because Snapchat, for instance, Snap Inc. has never earned any money. The only income they've ever reported is from the money that Wall Street gave them.
Right.
So they have to report the number of users and user engagement to Wall Street every quarter. And if that number goes down, their stock price gets whacked. And so that's the game. The game is even keeping the drug dealers on their platform, even keeping the sex traffickers on there.
And the predators.
Anything they do to clean it up is going to decrease their stock price, and that's the name of the game for them, not the health of their users.
100%. So if I can surmise, it's the people in the positions of leadership and that have the ability to make their platform safer for the children that are on it have declined. Plain and simple. And I just want to highlight that any other consumer product, let's say a really popular children's cereal or toy, if one child died as a result of consuming it, playing with it, it would be recalled. It would be off the shelves. But with regards to social media, that's not the case. So, enter Sammy's Law.
Right.
HR 2657 for those of you who like details, or sammyslaw.org. We collectively as parents are not accepting that. That is not acceptable. The laws meant to protect children online haven't been updated since I was a senior in high school, which was a very long time ago, and these platforms didn't exist at that time. We have got to protect our children. So can you speak to Sammy's Law?
Right. Well, let's go back to when you were a child in 1996, when the Communications and Decency Act was written.
Right.
In Section 230C, there's a clause in it that treats the internet and social media like a blackboard, where you can't blame the blackboard for what someone writes on it.
Right.
And back then, that's what the internet was. But now, with algorithms and artificial intelligence that drive those algorithms, things have become more complicated. And they're using these tools of design to hurt children in the name of profit. And so we had to come up with another way of parenting online,
Right.
of finding out what's going on, for instance, on Snapchat, where these snaps disappear. And unless you're literally in the moment with your child, you cannot know what's happening.
Right.
Right? So programs like Bark have the ability to issue a warning to parents when something dangerous happens.
Yep.
But the platforms with our children on do not allow for it. So that's TikTok and Snapchat, Discord, the gaming platform, the instant messaging platforms of Facebook and Instagram, and newly Instagram itself has moved away from allowing for third-party safety software integration. So Sammy's Law would require third-party safety software like Bark on every platform that has children as users, and life-saving warnings would be given out to parents, either in the form of an email or a text, when something that was perilous came onto the devices that they already own. And the benefit of Sammy's Law is that it's not editing any content. It doesn't fly in the face of the First Amendment, which is another protection that these companies use from any laws that may damp down their services, right? So since we're not changing anything, we're just alerting somebody to what's being said or being written on their child's device, the First Amendment doesn't apply. So we're looking at product design, and we're trying to get around Section 230C of the Communications Decency Act, which keeps parents like us from suing these platforms from the death of our children. And I would go farther to say that that's the reason they've gotten so large.
Yeah.
These platforms are as big as countries now.
They have no accountability.
And the reason is because when harm is done, we can't sue them for it, which is the American way. You think about Tylenol or slip and fall, all of the ways that the courts keep our consumer products in shape for the consumers
Right.
doesn't apply to these companies.
Just to back up and reintroduce some common sense here, that'd be like the major car companies banding together and saying, no, 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 we do not want seatbelts in these cars. That's what's happening.
That's right. And the lawmakers are allowing it because the platforms are so rich and they're showering the lawmakers with money and with lobbyists.
100%.
Google, for instance, has one lobbyist for every 8 lawmakers. And the platform spent over $50 million last year fighting the Kids Online Safety Act, which would have established a duty of care by the platforms to keep children safe. And so groups like us trying to push for Sammy's Law, I'm one parent with 3 lobbyists working to try and push this forward, and no money for campaign contributions.
And it's a bipartisan issue.
It is, with bipartisan support in the House so far. We have 2 people on the right and 2 on the left who are sponsors, and an equal number of co-sponsors on both sides. We like to say the children don't have a party.
Right. So can we call out who is the holdout?
Well, the holdout are the legislators in general. The holdout is the legislators.
Which ones?
All of them. I mean, what you find out is that they don't want to make it move. They want to make it sponsored, but they don't want to push it through. And we're getting different advocacy groups who come out on the right and the left, this sort of thing. So the big ones that we faced are the LGBTQ plus groups who are worried that giving a warning to a parent might out a child's sexual preference. Mm-hmm. But under Sammy's Law, you're not allowed to give a warning like that. And
right.
if you do, you lose access to the link.
Exactly.
So things that the left are worried about would not be part of the new regime under Sammy's Law, like reproductive choice, like birth control or abortion, sexual preference. And on the right, political leanings would not be something that a warning could be given out about. Right. So there's something in it for everybody and for the platforms. The data itself could only be kept for 2 weeks and only used for safety purposes. So they wouldn't have to worry, like Evan Spiegel said to me, about another company getting a hold of their data and making it their profit center. It could only be used for safety purposes and not commercial purposes. So we thought of everything, and there's no reason for anyone to stop this. But at the end of the day, the advocacy groups are also about money. And the LGBTQ plus group lost a lot of money from not standing up to the Kids Online Safety Act last year. And so they're now against all of what they call nanny state laws, even though LGBTQ plus children get bullied 3 times as much. And Sammy's Law and BARC guard against cyberbullying. And they commit suicide more often than other children. Yeah. And suicide warnings would be given as well. So it doesn't make sense. It's all about the money with the legislators, with the advocacy groups, and very little of it has anything to do with the citizenry, unfortunately.
We have families whose children identify as part of the LGBTQ plus community who have thanked us because they've received BARC alerts, because their children are being bullied, because their children are struggling with imminent suicidal ideation and threats. So it's heartbreaking that anybody would want to stop this.
Right. Well, with the Kids Online Safety Act, the LGBTQ plus groups were worried that the duty of care would be used to keep the content that those people want offline. And so that's where the rub was, right? But now we're talking about life-saving alerts.
Right.
And so that doesn't apply here. We're not
No.
talking about limiting any
Freedom of
content.
speech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're just dealing with the money now and sort of being painted with one brush, which is a shame. You know, people are dilly-dallying while children are dying, and
Every
there's
day.
no excuse.
Every single day. You're absolutely right. It's not just you. There are 65 families who have lost a child to fentanyl poisoning just via Snapchat. Not to mention the amount of children that have died by suicide because of bullying or sextortion across multiple platforms. And there's so many social media harms that have happened to children. Your nonprofit, parentcollective.org, would you say that's the place that people should go if they are pissed off and they want to take action?
Well, we help with a number of things. So we do help people find their advocacy.
Yep.
We provide free media services to family that lost a child and
Yep.
want to get their child's story out to the media
Yep.
in the name of limiting those harms.
Yep.
And my wife is a renowned therapist, and she does grief work for free with families who lost a child. In fact, she's going up to the Redwoods this week with 75 mamas who lost a child. And they're going to do 6 days in the Redwoods, hugging the mother tree, doing yoga, grief yoga, and screaming "why" to the moon. And they come away feeling much, much better. In Los Angeles, we do one of these every month, and she's traveling around the country also trying to bring to different cities what she calls a grieving mama meetup. We're also, of course, pushing for Sammy's Law
Yes.
and for other laws around the country that could stop online harms and also stop fentanyl poisoning. So we have a push this year to get death by fentanyl as murder. And there is a federal law that requires that. If you do a drug-related death and you are the dealer and someone dies, then it's a felony with a 20-year sentence.
Good.
And so we're replicating that at the state level in as many states as possible, and we want to bring it out to all 50 states because the feds don't have enough resources to prosecute all of the crimes,
No.
especially in cities where the district attorneys are not doing their job in the name of restorative justice, they call it, which are things like cashless bail and not prosecuting fentanyl crimes, which was happening in our hometown in Los Angeles until we threw out the district attorney last year and brought in a new law and order man named Nathan Hochman.
If you're a parent and you want to get involved, you want to support what you're doing, you have been impacted by this and you need support, where's the one place they should go to connect with you and your team?
Right. They can go to parentcollective.org.
Great.
And they should go to bark.us if they want to get the software that Sammy's Law is promoting. Bark is the leading provider of third-party safety software and can be a life-saving move. There's also Safe Watch and Safe Bark phones. So that can buy you another year or two when your kid wants a smartphone.
Yeah. Totally. Thank you. And by the way, like this is not paid. We do not pay Sam or his wife or his team to like endorse us. Like they have vetted the existing options out there and continue to recommend ours, and we're grateful for that. And both of us I think would say we actually don't care what you use, but please use something.
Right.
Go ahead.
There are a dozen companies out there that do this,
Yeah.
But Bark is the leader, and we work with as many of them as possible
100%.
because if Sammy's Law passes, this industry will grow.
Yeah.
And I think eventually we'll be at the point where when you download gaming software or social media software, that you'll automatically get a choice of third-party safety software to go with it.
That's common sense. That speaks to the ethos of do no harm. Like tech is not bad. tech is neither good nor bad. It's a tool. And we have so many safety precautions for tools out there. Again, seat belts, bike helmets, child locks on things like chainsaws, right? And the thing that our children are spending the most time on, upwards of 8 hours a day, have no built-in safety protections that just automatically turn on. That's stupid. Shame on us. Shame on us adults. And that's why we're fighting. And I'm so thankful for you and your team. Not only are you doing so much day to day, every day, all day, and I don't know how you do it, but you're also working on a very powerful documentary called Vanish Mode. Let's talk about that. I saw the trailer. We'll make sure to drop that wherever we share this.
Okay.
Dude, goosebumps. Let's talk about Vanish Mode.
Well, Vanish Mode is just meant to be sort of a warning to other families about what can happen if you don't limit the social media contact for your children,
Right.
because it tells about the death of Sammy and its impact on our family. And then we talk about the advocacy that we're doing. And we're also going to paint the picture of fentanyl and how it comes from China, where they have the precursor chemicals created and sent to Mexico to the cartels. And then the cartels ship it across the border, where social media picks it up and drives it to drug labs and drug dealers, using primarily Facebook to get young people like 18, 19, and 20 who have driver's license to make some extra money doing this. And then the drug dealers are using the pill molds that were sent over from China to create counterfeit drugs, psychoactive counterfeits like Percocet and Valium, drugs that have a shortage like Adderall, or expensive cancer drugs that people can't afford, and they're putting fentanyl in them and then selling them to addict the American society to fentanyl, and it's working. It's the leading cause of death. And social media platforms are solving the last mile problem for the drug dealers and the cartels. And the majority of drugs are now sold via social media, not in a park or a dangerous neighborhood like when I was a kid.
Right.
You had to risk your life to get drugs, when I was a kid. And now
same.
they deliver it to our home like a pizza. In our case, after the parents were asleep, on a platform where the messages are ephemeral and there's no way for a parent to know until third-party safety software is required on every platform with children. So we tell that story, and we also are part of a lawsuit with 64 other families in California Superior Court, which is taking a sort of product design approach to suing the platforms. So this is a product liability suit that we're using to hopefully get around Section 230C, which prevents people from suing these platforms. And the Snap Inc., their lawyers, are taking no responsibility in court for all the deaths of our children, all on Snapchat, all via fentanyl poisoning. And they challenged the motion to dismiss, and they failed. And then they took it to a higher court. We had to wait an entire year, but they failed there as well. And now we're going to trial. We have our second hearing in 3 days, and we're getting discovery against Snap Inc. for the first time. It's like a modern-day civil rights trial for the right to life for children.
Right.
And if we succeed, this will open the floodgates to other families who want to sue for the product designs that are dangerous on all social media and gaming platforms and leading to the deaths of children. And there are other cases in the country, like the Anderson case, that have opened the door to lawsuits. So we're hopeful, if that goes to the Supreme Court, that we'll have a nationwide ability to sue. So in the Anderson case in the 3rd District in Pennsylvania, it was determined by a federal court, that the algorithms and the artificial intelligence that drive those algorithms are not human speech and therefore not protected by the First Amendment. So that's landmark. Our case is landmark. So between getting around the First Amendment because of algorithms and artificial intelligence and product liability suits because of product design, we may find a way in so that these companies will have to make their platforms safe.
100%. I want you to speak to every parent out there listening and watching who thinks, gosh, that's horrible, but that would never happen to my child.
Right. Well, we thought that, and we didn't know Snapchat was dangerous. We thought all we had to worry about were nudie pics, and
Right.
we did speak to our children about that.
Right.
But we had no idea what a sewer it is. And if a parent were to open their own account on Snapchat, they would learn all of the ghastly things that come down the pipe there,
Right.
unsolicited. And I did this the other day just to see the status of things, and I was getting nude pictures from men and women and offers of drug sales and all sorts of horrible things. And
Still today.
the idea that children are on this platform, innocently communicating with each other about homework and school, and this is what comes to them unsolicited is terrible.
It's one of the biggest, I'd say, injustices of our time. It's this friendly yellow round ghost, and every child begs their parent to have it because it's the only way to communicate with their friends and be included in their friends. And meanwhile, we know what's happening. More and more people are finding out what's happening. It is the most dangerous app for children because the photos seemingly disappear, but they don't actually disappear. And they can be used against your children in a variety of ways. They offer the ability to chat with My AI, which leads children astray, gives them misinformation, bad advice, dangerous advice. It gives children a vault, essentially, called For My Eyes Only. That doesn't sound like something that should be given to a child on a digital platform. The quick ad feature, right? Surfacing people they think your child might want to connect with and vice versa. Just throwing bad people in front of them, not just people from their peer group that are their age. Snap Maps gives people, anybody in the world that your child is connected to on that app, they're your child's real-time live location. They can zoom down and see what the exterior of the building looks like. They can look at your child's school and see where they are in the school. Are they in the gym? Are they in the cafeteria? Are they in the playground? What have we done? And shame on us parents, myself included, for letting our kids download an app that we haven't spent time on.
Right. Well, and they have these family centers and fixes that
BS.
they do that are
Such
just
BS.
PR moves,
100%.
right? And if a parent were to go on there and think they were getting protection,
Right.
they wouldn't realize how easy it would be for their child to undo that protection and how thin the protection is. So some of the things that they offer, it takes one click to change it. Right?
Yes, without parental consent.
Right.
They should give parents the ability to turn their child on ghost mode and get alerts if there's nudity, drug-related, self-harm, disordered eating-related content situations happening. But instead, it's like you said, fluff. It's smoke and mirrors. They want to look like they're checking a box and like they care, but they absolutely do not care.
And parents are in a difficult position because a lot of children do use Snapchat.
Right.
And so their children will be begging them for it.
100%.
And so I'm here to tell you, let them beg. The longer you can put this off or deny it altogether, the less likely you are to lose a child like we did. And nothing compares to that.
Not only that, but your children will beg you because they don't want to be left out. And you don't want them to be left out of positive connection. But I'm here to tell you that you do want them to be left out of the documented high rate of harmful content and people that are on that platform. Your children will be better off mentally and physically if you do not allow them to have this horrible app until at least 16. And even then, that's the age that your son was when he was using it. So things need to change. Do not think not my kid. Do not think that. It could be any kid. It could be my kid.
Right. And that's why the phone-free school movement is so important, because that establishes a time during the day when children can learn when they're not fidgeting with their phone.
Right.
And it's critical that we stop the 8 hours a day that kids are on these phones doing their social media and their gaming, because it's really harming an entire generation's brain development
Yes.
and exposing them to danger, as we've been discussing today.
100%.
So another way to go about it is to form communities of parents who are all going to stay off of the social media platforms, so that your children can make friends with other families that have the same ethic that you do. Because it's hard to be alone while everyone else is doing something.
Yes.
And be excluded, right? And it's still worth doing because children are dying.
We were at the Organization for Social Media Safety Gala not too long ago together. I was so stoked to be at your table. Amazing. And also at our table was an amazing woman, Deb Schmill, and she won the Sammy Chapman Award. Can you talk about that?
Yes. Well, Deb's story is really a shame.
Yeah.
Her daughter was fooled into going to a party of older boys.
On what platform?
On Snapchat.
Okay.
And they raped her. And she had no idea. She thought she was being popular and going to a group her own age, and they were 4 years older than she was and had been using social media to lure in girls. After being raped, she was depressed, despondent, and she turned to drugs. And she got a fentanyl-laced drug on Snapchat and died. And so Deb Schmill, her mother, has been fighting for the Kids Online Safety Act and the Phone Free Schools movement ever since, and is a full-time advocate and one of the leaders of these movements around the country. And so she was given the Sammy Berman Chapman Award for outstanding leadership protecting children from online harms. And the Organization for Social Media Safety is an organization that is devoted to consumer protections against the dangers of social media and warning parents about what to do, what not to do. They go into hundreds of schools every year, teaching children how to be safer, teaching parents how to do things like put a board on your refrigerator and keep track of how much time everyone's spending online, including yourselves.
Yeah.
And try and bring that number down every week and create a new ethic inside your family, or teaching your children how to block and report when they get information that is dangerous on their platforms, and lots of other tips.
Shout out to Mark Berkman and Ed Peisner and the entire team at OFSMS, doing amazing work, saving lives, as are you and your family and Deb Schmill and so many others. What was it like to be in the same room with Evan Spiegel and Linda Yaccarino and Mark Zuckerberg and the CEO of Discord and the CEO of TikTok, holding up your son's picture to let them know that they are responsible?
So we were told by the Sergeant at Arms to keep the pictures in our laps. There were 75 of us in the audience during a Senate hearing with the leaders of the social media platforms. And when the senators started coming out to the platform, I realized that I had not come to hide Sammy's picture. And I put it up in the air. And then Jaime, my friend, put Daniel's picture up in the air. And then Amy and Neville put Alexander's picture up in the air. And then the Bronsteins put Nate's picture up in the air. Our entire row did it. And then everyone else saw what we were doing, and their pictures went up. And there were 75 pictures of children who had died while the senators and their aides came out. And it was quiet. You could hear a pin drop in the Senate hearing room. And then the leaders of these platforms came out, and we held our pictures up for 15 minutes while their lackeys and the CEOs came out and saw all of the harm that they had done. And then the Sergeant at Arms came to us and made us put the pictures down as Senator Durbin was gaveling the hearing to order. But later on in the hearing, Josh Hawley, Senator Hawley, made Mark Zuckerberg stand up and apologize to us, although it was sort of a mealy-mouthed apology. And he told us all to put the pictures back up. So Zuckerberg turned around and saw all the children who had died on his platform while he said that he was sorry for what had happened to us, not for what he did, and that they were leading an industry-leading effort to keep others from having to go through it. And, I guess an industry-leading effort is only as good as the industry, and it's not very good. So it was amazing to be there with all of those parents. It was a sign. There are about 200,000 new parents made by this crisis every year, and we are slowly becoming a political force that's hard to resist. And we're standing up to the money and the lobbyists of big tech and showing up in Washington, D.C., as we and your CEO are doing tomorrow.
Wow.
To try and convince the powers that be in the House and the Senate to pass Sammy's law and allow for third-party safety software like Bark on any platform with children.
It's just basic human decency. Do what's right. Protect our most vulnerable. That is our job, whether you're a legislator, a tech executive, or a parent. Do what's right. Protect our children. If you're listening to this and you're mad, you're sad, you want to do something, you don't know what to do, you can leave a comment. You can like or react to this. That generates more engagement for more awareness. You can share it. Sharing our content is very helpful, especially on the platforms that might try to quiet our content because it's not favorable for them. So share, share, share. You can go to parentcollective.org to join the fight. We need every single one of you. And there is no force more powerful in this world than a group of parents. We get stuff done, and we will not stop.
You can also speak to your children
Yeah.
and warn someone else. Other parents may not know that Snapchat is dangerous, that social media is lethal these days, and about the online harms like sextortion and fentanyl poisoning.
Yeah, 100%. Sam, I hate that we have to be together under these circumstances, but I am more emboldened than ever to not be quiet, to speak out and fight as long as I have breath and strength in my body until this world is safer for our kids. And I'm so grateful for all that you and Dr. Laura are doing, your entire team, OFSMS, everyone. This is a long road, but the most worthwhile one.
Right, and thank you for all the work you're doing. You're a very powerful voice in this fight, and every year you have more and more people listening to you and reading about you, and I think this podcast is going to be a real success and will save lives.
Thank you.